Good afternoon. Great to have you with us here at 4 o'clock. We begin talking tariffs. The tariffs President Trump ordered on Mexico and Canada are paused for now, but the 10% price hike on Chinese imports, that started at midnight.
And already China is retaliating. So what does all of this mean for us here in Indiana? Jenny Runovich takes a look at what could get more expensive and the impact on Hoosier businesses, farmers, and consumers.
Most Indiana-grown soybeans on Brian Warpup's farm leave the U.S. and most go to China. Some of his farm equipment has parts made in China, so tariffs in a trade war, he's paying close attention.
It's always on our radar. It's something I check daily, if not hourly.
So far, his crops are not affected, but machinery used for agriculture could be costlier soon. China imposing its own tariffs on natural gas, trucks, and farm equipment.
It just all depends on what company, where they manufacture everything.
A lot of items we all buy could get more expensive, everything from medications and groceries to video games and clothes you order online.
Clothing, household items like, small appliances, consumer electronics, your iPhone or Android smartphone, a lot of building supplies that go into houses.
Auto equipment, electronics, raw materials. And
Indiana manufacturers that do business with China or use parts made in China bracing for impact too.
Somebody's going to have to bear that cost, and it's either going to do two things. It's going to make the manufacture of that good here in the U.S. or here in Indiana more expensive, so we lose some competitiveness on an economic basis, or the cost is going to be passed along to the consumer.
Economists say the Chinese tariffs could impact Indiana's medical supply companies and biotech firms. But for Hoosier businesses, unknowns in a trade war are almost more damaging.
If I'm a business leader, do I pull the trigger on that investment? Do I maybe just kind of wait to see how this shakes out? That kind of uncertainty about what the competitive landscape looks like can really paralyze firms.
Back on the farm, Warpup's watching for updates on tariffs with China.
Seems like it changes all the time.
Hoping they don't impact his bottom line. Jenny Runovich, 13 News.
And now to our other big story we're following this afternoon. Multiple sources tell NBC News the White House is preparing an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education.
One source says the order could come as soon as this month. Another says the Trump administration will oversee proposed legislation to Congress to close the department. That source also told NBC News the goal here is for states and local districts to be responsible for public education.
And this is something the president had promised to do when he was on the campaign trail. He said repeatedly that he wanted to dismantle the Department of Education and send it back to each state. Supporters say it's too bloated, it's ineffective, but critics are concerned about what they call the devil in the details.
Among them, Jennifer McCormick, a former school superintendent and state superintendent of public instruction. She also ran for governor last fall. She says right now, Indiana gets about $1 billion a year in federal funding for schools.
And so what's going to happen to that financial support, whether it's for special education or homeless students or English language learners, kids who are identified with a 504, where are the funds going to go? Or is that also impacting the funding? So there's a whole lot at play that I think Indiana needs to pay attention.
Legal experts say the president does not have the authority to get rid of a federal agency that was created by Congress. We will have much more on this developing story coming up on 13 News at 5.
And in D.C. this afternoon, officials say the remains of all 67 victims of that midair collision near Reagan Airport have been recovered as crews continue to comb the Potomac for scraps of both aircrafts, as you can see in those images right there. Laura Aguirre has the very latest from the NTSB's Search for Answers.
Just having the CVR and FDR from the plane is just part of the story.
The chair of the NTSB discussing the complex puzzle that investigators are piecing together. Data from the American Airlines jet's cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, the CVR and FDR, is being analyzed. The jet plunged into the Potomac after a midair collision with an Army Black Hawk helicopter last week. The combination CVR and FDR from the Black Hawk has also been recovered.
Now they're taking that data and making sure that it's accurate, that the timestamps are right, to try to marry it up with the CVR FDR data from the plane.
The NTSB says the Blackhawk's black box did not have timestamps. They will have to manually create those, likely pushing out those findings about a month. Preliminary findings from the plane show the jet's nose pitching up moments before the crash, indicating the crew may have seen the Blackhawk, but too late. There's also been heavy speculation that the Blackhawk may have been higher than the 200-foot altitude limit of its designated flight corridor.
We'll have the Blackhawk, but then we'll take the plane and lay it out so it can be evaluated to figure out what the angle of the collision was.
While a final report from the NTSB could take a year or more, addressing any safety gaps could move much faster.
At any time, the NTSB can issue an urgent safety recommendation. We don't have to wait till the end, and if we see there's a need, we'll do it.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Still so many questions there. The Marion County prosecutor has dismissed all criminal charges against an out-of-state landlord accused of not paying almost $2 million in utility bills for 4 Indianapolis apartment complexes. The prosecutor's office says charges of corrupt business influence and theft were dismissed after Chaim Puritz of New York paid full restitution of over $500,000 to the city of Indianapolis. Citizens Energy briefly turned off the water at 2 complexes back in February of 22 until the city stepped in to make an emergency payment.
All right, switch gears here. We're going to talk about that wind of change today. You could certainly feel it. We had near record highs and record highs yesterday. A good 25 degrees colder compared to 24 hours ago. Upper 30s in Lafayette and Kokomo, low 40s now, and clouds are beginning to increase in anticipation. A little hint of our weather system that's on the way for tomorrow. 43, a quiet, just a cooler evening for you if you're going to be out and around here, but it will be dry. Just know that. And it will be dry tomorrow morning. Bus stop and your morning commute. We don't really have any issues that we're anticipating. Yes, there will be a lot of cloud cover. It's going to look like it wants to do something. It probably is just not going to happen until a little bit closer to midday here. And then we'll be watching radar and temperatures very closely. For some areas, maybe a lot of areas along and south of I-70, this will just be nothing more than a cold rain. However, for some spots, a degree or 2 difference can be the difference from a cold rain, or you're getting some sleet pellets, or maybe there's a little bit of light icing, and that would be a little more likely to occur over the northern third of the state. Thunderstorms, by the way. Thunderstorms on the way for tomorrow night as well. I have more on that in an active 7-day forecast in a few minutes.